Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin. September 14th, Monday morning, about 7:10 a.m. Out walking the big guy. And I just wanted to show you this lighting here behind me. Pretty spectacular. And I pulled an all-nighter. It's my second one within the past few days, and it's all about the drive to complete a project. I have been on both sides of the fence on this argument, and this kind of willingness to get something done at any cost is usually something you do in your youth. There's this what I consider like the sweet spot, probably like 18 to 28, that 10-year stretch of a sort of limitless, boundless energy. And I remember using it a lot in college. And there's also a edge to it that I probably don't like to talk about a lot, but I'll be honest with myself. An edge of procrastination, because you could have done stuff earlier, but you put it off. Now, I have some mitigating circumstances, some excuses, everything ranging from family to wanting to do some of the foundational work of my coding project in the process of doing client work. And so sometimes I front load something that I could get started on right away, the very manual way, using Microsoft Excel, instead using Python and most likely Google Spreadsheets. But it's a little bit of pioneering, and it takes longer than I expect. So I put in the time I need to do that stuff. And sometimes there isn't enough slices to go around. You know, you give most of the day of most every day to your employer. They call it like 9 to 6. Hey there, how you doing?
How are you?
Good, good. How about you?
Nice, good.
Good. But 9 to 6 plus a commute is rough. It means you're out the door somewhere around 8 in the morning and you're coming back at 7 p.m. at night. It's a pretty long day, 5 days a week. I have the fortunate position of being able to work from home on Fridays, and I love that. Now, that worked out particularly well when I still had that little office on 5030 Broadway, part of the Manhattan Storage Edison property building. And that didn't last long because of money. And I made a very nice little work area for myself in our apartment now. It's actually very pleasant to sit at. But it is hard to maintain focus sometimes, given home, family full of pets, and of course whenever Addie's around, she is very demanding of my attention, unable to sort out work time from time that's available for her. And in tiny Manhattan apartments, you can't always close doors. There's not enough room to close off a space like that. It's almost always space that's used for something else as well, and there will be coming and going, and so there will be access to you, and so there is no real concentration. It's I think one of the fundamental issues of grabbing yourself by the bootstraps and lifting yourself up to achieve sort of the next level of accomplishment. I think people are capable of great things, giving a little bit of focus, a little bit of willingness to bear down on a project and get it done. And I've done that several times in my life, and they are almost visceral processes because you feel yourself pushing yourself. There's actually physical limits, sleep that you have to get, diminishing returns in productivity if you don't. And what I'm doing right now, you got to do. It's not because of family. It's not because I'm an old guy or because I'm procrastinating. It's because I'm ambitious. It's because the way I'm doing things are not the way other people are doing them, so that I don't go obsolete in my career like my dad did in his career when he was about my age. Been thinking a lot about my dad lately, and it's a shame Addie never got to meet him, but there are significant parts of my childhood that were from him that are finding their way into her childhood as well. And that would be a rubber tire mallet and a folding wood ruler measuring stick. And these are very clear running themes from my childhood growing up. And she's got them both, at least in her life. I sometimes put them away, and sometimes they're just sitting around the apartment. But there's a handful of things like that that I sort of carried along and preserved, and I tell Addie the stories. But the thing that's always on my mind regarding my father is the way he was wrangled into the textile industry because of his uncles. He wanted to be a NASA aeronautical engineer. Yeah, and became a textile engineer, going to work for uncles who couldn't keep him employed, so he went to work for other knitting mills in the vicinity, and pretty much worked for each and every one over the years until they all dried up except for the ones in New York, and then even those were 50% of the time travel in the Far East. And he didn't want to do that. So he got out of that business and became a check casher, of all things. First, he ran a laundromat. Then he bought a check cashing facility. Then he died. I think he was 62. So he didn't quite reach retirement. Just bought himself a new car, had a girlfriend. Things were going his way. I just graduated college. Gone. And I took over the check cashing business. And that started a cascading series of events that, shall we say, took me on a circuitous route on my own ambitions. Nothing like an aeronautical engineer. I guess I would have liked to have been perhaps a scientist, maybe a dog trainer. And let's see. Yeah, good old Bouvier de Flanders. Very, very strong-willed dogs. So I'm 45 and I'm basically finding my way back on track, fixing each of the mistakes that he made by simply not making those mistakes. First and foremost, being in New York so that my commute is on the subway and not a long drive each direction. This is the dog walking hour. I take another circuitous route. It's part of the choices you make. Hi there. And let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. Just pieced all the technology pieces together. Replaced the Amiga computer in my heart after a long dry spell of boring, pre-OS X Macs and boring Windows machines. And now finally this combination of mobile and, in my mind, Linux, Python, Vim, and Git, and really, really cheap hardware like the Raspberry Pi is causing the another sort of technology coolness wave that is very reminiscent of the Amiga. And I am doing as well in that landscape as I did in the Amiga landscape. HTML5 is really turning the world my way, for example. Starting to get back into graphic design, made logos for Levinix and Pipulate that I'm very proud of, and basically getting ready to make my move. And making your move sometimes means going the distance. It means running the marathon. It means pulling a couple of all-nighters to get done even just the thought work that you need to get done. Deep thinking to make a product. Product that's supposed to change things. So we'll see. I'm really enjoying it, I have to admit. And when you do something you enjoy, like take this much time for your own endeavor, there are some prices to pay. So you do an all-nighter every once in a while, and you try and explain to your daughter why Daddy is doing this and not able to play as much as he would like to. That's probably the hardest part. But anyway, about to drop the dog off, head into the office, and do the final round of this work, which is an actual keyword build using the tools I just created, or at least the checklist process. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.